Hello, this is Becca from Willow Hill Designs. Welcome. Today I am sharing my start for prompt number 2 of Roxy's Journal of Stitchery Field Notes project, and the prompt is nest. And we had a nest for another prompt with Roxy's Journal of Stitchery, and the nest that I did was this, and kind of a typical looking nest with that twiggy look, like maybe a robin or in this case a little sparrow, or a cardinal, something like that. A larger nest with lots of twigs, and I just did long and short stitches on this to give that look. But I wanted to try something different this time, so I decided to go with a hummingbird nest. And I'll just see if I have some, yeah, I have some, oops, sorry for that light glaring there, but some hummingbird nest images, and they have lichen on them in most cases, in many cases. I love this. I love this little bird sitting here happily. It's kind of a cylindrical looking nest, not squatty and wide. And some of the nests are lighter colors or browns. Some of them are grays. This is a gray looking nest with, I love this fluffy, whatever this is here. I'm not quite sure what they found in nature to put on there. But again, here's that lichen. And here shows you how actually tiny these little eggs are. Here's a dime. And you can see how they're almost the size of elongated peas. So this was my challenge, to try to do this and try to make that lichen look real. I don't know if I can do that. But so what I did first was to sketch what I'd like on the page. And this was an image that I found on the internet, well, a couple of images that I found on the internet. This male was on a branch, kind of looking over his shoulder, and I saw this of a female with her nest built with a pine cone underneath her nest, and I just loved that look. So I kind of combined images here, and I wanted to make this a pine branch. And this kind of makes me think of the pitch pine trees that we have an inland, we have actually the largest inland pine barrens in the world, right in our region. And it's actually the last pine barren in the world. Beautiful, beautiful place, but sadly, big corporations have managed to, I don't know if I should use the word bribe, but the conservationist groups have acquiesced and allowed them to build in a lot of the area, and it's heartbreaking, really. There's lots of commercial buildings there, and flora and fauna has been destroyed, but it's a beautiful, beautiful area, and mostly pitch pines there, but I chose to do a red pine because we have red pines at the back of our property. And so that's what I'm calling this branch, and because we do have hummingbirds here, so I thought that I would include our red pine and along with hummingbirds. And I just wrote with my writing here, my printing, red pine, or Norway pine is another name for that. We planted these when we first had the house built. And then I just put here hummingbird nest to identify. I didn't put here male and female. I could do that. I'm just thinking. I had a dragonfly on some fabric, but it was larger, and I thought it would make the birds, it would look silly. It would have been bigger than the birds. So I just kind of scaled down a little drawing of a dragonfly, which I'll stitch on here. And I just invisible stitched some fabric, that same fabric that I used on my first page, with writing on it, with text here and here. And here there are two pieces behind this little nest. And this little nest was larger on a piece of fabric, but I cut it down to kind of look like a little hummingbird nest, more cylindrical. They don't seem to have the squatty, wider nests. They're more of a cylindrical shape. And so I put this little nest here. And then these pine boughs up here, I have this fabric. And I just cut an image out of here. It's probably something like this one. Just cut an image out and stitched over that with some green floss, some green and some brown, to make it look as if there's a tree nearby. It looks to me like a larch or something nearby this red pine tree. And for the nest, with the bird nest, they don't seem to be a real twiggy type of nest, very interwoven the way you see with the other birds, larger birds. They seem to be more smooth. So trying to recreate that was a little bit tricky. And what I've done here is I have this little tray that I keep by my stitching chair, and in there I keep all the bags. I've gathered the threads for each element in my little picture here, and here are some of the threads that I've chosen for the female, and I labeled it. There's some brown wool here, and kind of a greenish brown silk that her colors are very muted, so I thought that might work, and some ivory for her breast. So that helps me, rather than go digging around looking for the colors that I would like. I have them separated by little bags in baggies, and this will be for the male. I have some ivory for the breast, and I have black for the eye, which I'll also use for the female, and possibly this green. This is a wool for his back feathers, but I also have this green that could be used for his feathers, and I have this 4mm ribbon by the Thread Gatherer. This is Frosted Auburn, which might be nice for those feathers right under his chin. So I've pulled that, and I will try that and see how that looks. And along with the, I've got here the ruby throat and the back for the male, and I've chosen some of my metallic threads for that. This one is a holographic thread, which I think is very pretty, and that might look nice for his throat feathers. And I have another red. This is more metallic and more of an orangey red. And then I also thought it might be nice to add some copper in there, just because of the iridescent look. And then also, if I don't use the ribbon, I have chosen this floss that might look nice for his throat. I'm not sure which I will use. And for the back feathers, to go with the green floss that I've chosen, I also chose some. This is a holographic again, and this, and when you see their back feathers, they're shades of blue and green. So I'd like to kind of add that in the stitching if I could as well. So that's for the ruby throat and the back of the male. And for the, is this the tree? Yes, this is the tree. For the tree this is a silk thread by the Thread Gatherer. This is called Slug Bug, which I really love this color. It's a nice variegated thread. But as you can see, it goes from lighter brown, taupey brown, to darker and a chocolate brown as well. I used some of that, and I used some of this, and this is also for the female, and I used 2 strands of this color and 2 strands of this for the pine branch, and it gave it just enough of a barky look, bark-ish look for me, at least in my opinion. Just kind of gave it some shading so it wasn't kind of a static solid color, and a little bit darker along the bottom here. And then again, also going up the branches, it just gives a little bit more depth. And then rather than going back with all these other colors, I just used 4 strands because silk is fine. Used that in the needle at one time, and I like that effect. And lastly, for the nest, I chose these colors because some of the nests that I liked I saw were kind of a light color, kind of a straw or maybe pine needle-ish looking color, dried pine needles, and also this color which has some greens and grays and kind of a reddish, light reddish browns, kind of burnt orange, light burnt orange, and maybe golden, sort of a pale maize color. But I thought that was kind of an interesting look for the nest. This I have to put back on that little spool. And now for the lichen on the nest. That I feel is going to be the trickiest part of it all. I have these colors, and this is called sheep's silk, and I don't think I have felt anything more glorious than this. This is by the Thread Gatherer as well, and this is foaming green, and I just loved that, and it did make me think of the color of lichen. But this is also the color of lichen, and this is chameleon threads, fern green, and these I think are from Australia. Yes, these are from Australia. So I thought I would use a combination of both of these to try to make some lichen looking, or a suggestion of lichen on this nest. So I think that will add a nice, if I can only accomplish it. So that will also be added to the nest. Let's see, in one of these pictures here, let's see. One of these pictures, this one, I love how that branch kind of comes down and just sweeps around on there. Sorry for the glare. Let's see if I can get rid of it. I love the way that sweeps down and around. I'd like to try to do something like that on there. And I do love that fluff that they seem to cushion their nests with. And right now I'm crocheting a blanket for our living room that will go over the love seat, and it's mostly all ivory with a few stripes of sort of a gray and a taupe color, same kind of a chunky yarn, and I love this yarn. But it's 2-ply, you know, it was wound like this, thicker, well, like this. But I thought that was a little bit too chunky, but I thought if I separated the plies, that this might look like that wonderful cottony fluff that they put around the top of their, and they actually line it also. But I thought I might put it up around the top. I've seen them with it around the top edge. So I think I'll couch some of this down to look like the little nests that I have seen. So for me right now, I think the biggest challenge, where did my needle go? This is actually a tapestry needle. It's not an embroidery needle, so it has a dull point, but it's been working nicely for me. Sometimes if you use the sharp needle and you do take threads out, which I do, if I don't like the way something looks, I'll take it out. The sharp needle pierces the threads, and sometimes it's harder to pull them out, where the blunt needle just separates them the plies, and it's a little bit easier to take your stitches out if you'd like to. But so this is what I'm thinking of using for the lichen on this little nest, if I can ever accomplish it. I have no idea. And it seems like this will need more of something, but once I get the lichen on there, maybe it won't need something else. So that, I think, really poses my biggest challenge. And then next, the throat of the hummingbird, the male, will pose a big challenge for me. I'm not going to stitch the pine cone. I love it. I love this pine cone just the way it is. And so I think what I will do is use my Derwent watercolor pencils on this. And what I do is whenever I use my watercolor pencils, I use this Liquitex fabric medium. Apparently this makes it permanent as opposed to water. So it's just like using water, and it does help your color to spread or for you to blend it a little bit better. So I'll be using some of that. So I'll do that lastly. I'll put a little color on this pine cone, but I'd like to stitch both birds and the dragonfly as well, and may try to add some lichen to this little nest at the bottom. And again, this is backed with a fusible interfacing, a lightweight fusible interfacing. I have this little flower that I had cut out of some fabric, so I don't know if I will add this to the page or not, if it'll go on here anywhere. But this is here just in case, or maybe for a future page. And I was asked about the pen that I use, and if you'll hold on, I'll grab that and show you. Let's see. Forgot to bring it over. This is a Millennium, and it's a permanent pigment pen. This is pure brown, and it's a 05. It's not a very fine tip. It's a good, nice tip. It doesn't come out too dark on the fabric, and it doesn't bleed or anything. So this is where it stands right now, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying this. So my wish me luck in creating this little nest to look like it has lichen on it. Hopefully I can do that. So thank you very much for joining me. Let me move this chaos. my little tray is chaotic looking here. I'll move that out of the way, and I'll just try to give you a little close-up of this page. So this will be the page after the spring bulbs. So thank you very much for joining me today, and I'm wishing you many blessings. See you in the next video. Bye for now.